All right, Assalamu alaikum everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening for our Black Muslimah Shining event, an evening of empowerment. We're really excited to have you all and to have this discussion with our wonderful panelists. We're going to just start the event with a Quran recitation and a land acknowledgement. So I'm going to pass it off to my colleague Umaima to start the evening.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. We're so happy to have you join us today for an evening of celebrating Black Muslim women and the incredibly empowering and inspiring things that we get up to. So I'm going to begin with a brief Fatiha. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahmanir Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'een, Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim, siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim, ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Ameen. In the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. All praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful, sovereign of the day of recompense. It is you we worship and you we ask for help. Guide us to the straight path, the path of those upon whom you have bestowed favor, not of those who have evoked your anger or those who are astray. I'll be reciting or saying a brief land acknowledgement. I would like to begin by acknowledging the land we're meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and it is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. I will now pass it back to Iman, I believe, and we'll get started.
Thanks so much, Umaima. All right, so we're going to start our evening with an introduction to our host, Zahra Grant. Zahra is a first-generation Muslim woman who was born in and raised in Toronto by her father, who reverted to Islam after immigrating to Canada from Trinidad in the late 1970s. Zahra believes in an Islam rooted in liberation and justice, especially as it pertains to women. She has worked and collaborated on multiple initiatives of social activism engagement, including previous work with the Canadian Council of Muslim Women on the project Being a Canadian Muslim Woman in the 21st Century. Over to you, Zahra.
Thank you so much, Iman. And it's truly an honor and joy to share space and time with you all this evening and to engage with our brilliant and talented panelists for the conversation on empowerment. So for the past 3 years, CCMW has been platforming the Black Muslimahs Shining series in the effort to spotlight and center the voices and work of Canadian Black Muslim women. We're especially pleased this year to launch our CCMW Black Muslimahs Shining Scholarship, which will be awarded to Black Muslim women pursuing post-secondary education at a Canadian institution. So please check out the CCMW website to find out more details and to support with donations in kind if you are able. Now, tonight we're gathered here for a conversation on empowerment, and empowerment can look very different for different people, especially in the context of our varied experiences and locations. But what I can say for at least myself on a personal level, that empowerment for me is about agency. It's about the freedom to make choices and to navigate the consequences of my choices as I attempt the journey of the Sirat al-Mustaqim. I'm empowered by my community who have been pivotal to my survival. As my bio said, I wasn't raised with my mom, I was raised by my dad, but a crucial part of that was the community I was raised in. I was raised in a community mostly of Caribbean converts, and a lot of the women in the community have been foundational to my experience and to my survival. I'm also empowered by women in our sacred history, Hajar, a Black woman, Asiya, Khadija, all women who, use their own determinations and faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to claim their agency. So I'm always inspired by them. I'm also empowered by justice. Justice to me is such an important act of faith for me. And it's one that I think is often overlooked. I think we often get caught up in, what's right and wrong, and that can look very different in different contexts as well, but sometimes it's not so black and white. Rather, I like to look at things in terms of justice and accountability and let the judgment stay with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's what I try to bring to my work and my interactions and my experiences. I like to think that I'm sincere in the consistent pursuit of knowledge and truth using my God-given agency. And that's how I would define empowerment for myself, and that's something I wish for us all. So inshallah, tonight we have three wonderful panelists to engage with and to share their own perspectives on what empowerment means to them. And with that said, let me introduce them. So we have Hanan Mohammed. I don't know how people are seeing the screens, but if she could give a little wave. Hanan Mohammed is a law student at the English Common Law Factory. Prior to joining the faculty, Hanan was an award-winning policy and legal researcher with a successful track record in citizen engagement and mobilization. As an undergraduate student at the University of Alberta, Hanan studied a dual BA in psychology and sociology. Her research explored the importance of understanding the impacts of the historical and contemporary oppression and trauma on policy development and decision-making. Hanan has advised political parties, consulted organizations, and writes about the need for an intersectional and critical race analysis on a freelance basis. Currently, Hanan works with the Canadian Human Rights Commissioner's Office, and as an independent researcher for grants she has successfully received to conduct legislation revisions. Hanan has also been elected by her peers to be a board member on the University of Ottawa's Board of Governors and has also recently joined the Canadian Council of Muslim Women's Board of Directors. We also have Warda Mohammed. Warda, if you could give a little wave. Warda is the creative genius behind many of Hidayah House's initiatives. And Warda has a deep-rooted passion in supporting people when they need it the most. And she does so in a way that uplifts and connects people in ways that have never been seen before. As an entrepreneur and leader in her own right, she keeps the spirit of Hidayah House going with regular reminders that this work should be filled with love and joy. From Instagram to TikTok to real life, many who have come across Warda have testified to her infectious energy that she brings everywhere she goes. A henna artist, host extraordinaire, event planner, and more, Warda wears many hats and wears them well. Welcome, Warda. And lastly, but not least, we have Ayan Bashir. Ayan, if you could give a wave. Ayan Bashir is a Somali-Canadian visual artist based in Toronto, and for the past 7 years, Ayan has explored digital art, henna, calligraphy, and fused them into her graphic design projects. As a Black Muslim woman, Ayan navigates the art scene to truly make an impact in her community with her whimsical yet vibrant style. Ayan's recent projects have been online and remote. She facilitates art workshops with a curriculum geared to an audience that creates digital illustrations for local NGOs in regards to natural henna, and most recently branding small businesses in regards to logos, social highlights, websites, etc. Ayan also has always had a passion to create with her hands. She is not afraid of taking risks and enjoys thinking outside the box to really bring her passion projects to life. So welcome to all three of you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm so excited and pleased to be able to engage with you all on what empowerment means to each of you. And I'll just dive into the questions if that's okay. So the first questions I'm going to ask, it's about 3 or 4. I'm going to ask them to all of you. So inshallah, I'll ask the question, and then if each of you can respond, maybe I'll just call out randomly the order. And then I have some questions for specifically geared to each of you. And then if we have time, inshallah, we'll open it up to everybody who has joined us today for a couple Q&As that I think we could pop in the chat, or I'm not sure if we have the raised hand feature. Iman, maybe you could help us out with that when we get to it. But hopefully we'll have time to that. And then we'll close off the evening plugging some Black Muslim businesses, and that will be our evening. Okay, so let's get started. So if each of you can take a few minutes just to sort of, if you can in a nutshell, capture each of your respective journeys that got you to where you are today. What were some pivotal moments that kind of like, you know, really helped empower you to pursue where you are today? And maybe if we could start with Warda.
Assalamu alaikum. Let me think. I think a pivotal part of my journey and who I am and why I do the work that I do was started at like a young age for me. I'm only 24, but I was bullied very, very young. And I was bullied for most of elementary, so from like grade 1 to about grade 7. And you know, being a Black Muslim woman, and at the time also learning how to wear the hijab, like my dad just told me, you know, one day I came back from Yemen, I like was 9 years old, and he was like, "You're gonna wear the hijab," and I was like, okay. And trying to navigate that and figuring out who I am with the hijab and who I am like at such a young age was a lot, especially going to a predominantly like white elementary school. And honestly, the feeling that I felt being bullied and feeling so alone and not being able to, you know, have anybody to lean on, because I'm also the eldest girl in my family, and being the eldest Muslim, the woman is also another struggle of its own to navigate. And I kind of vowed to myself that I never want anybody to ever feel the way I did when I was younger. So I would try to be the first person to smile at somebody. I would try to be the first person to say hello or start a conversation with somebody that looked like they were alone or uncomfortable or not sure how to navigate the space that they were in, to just kind of let them know, hey, you're not alone. Like, I've been there and I want you to know I'm here for you. And so that's something that I kind of carry with me throughout the work that I do, the community work that I do. And honestly, I'm very proud of it. I think a good day for me is making anybody smile, honestly. If I have made you smile at any point in life, I think that, like, alhamdulillah, because it's like, I don't know what's going on in your life. You don't have to tell me what's going on in your life. But the fact that I could have provided you like even the smallest bit of relief, whether it's comedic or heartwarming, is a good day for me. So yeah, that's kind of what shaped me to be
Mashallah,
who I
that's
am
really
today.
beautiful. And I'm pretty sure there's, I'm not sure if it's a hadith or not, but like one of the greatest charities you can give is a smile. So mashallah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Ayan, what about you? What are some pivotal moments in your life that brought you in the journey to where you are now?
First, assalamu alaikum. And then also, I've never actually been in a space where you read Fatiha and then you did the land acknowledgement. So I thought that was really cool. That part made me go, wow, like we could actually talk freely here today. But I wanted to say, like, I would say pivotal moment for me. I was actually very much so introverted. Now I think I'm a healthy mix of extrovert and introvert. So my outlet usually was with my hands. So I liked creating stuff. I was like that girl that did like the bubble letters for people on their posters and things like that. So I feel like it kind of stuck, like I was creative, but more of me actually taking myself seriously and saying, okay, you know, I want to take this further than that was a decision I had to make post high school, I'd say. So I like showing up in spaces, especially because of the fact that it's not really like a career to our East African. I don't know if it's for every community, but that's the reason why I like to do it.
Mashallah, that's beautiful. Thank you. And what about you, Hanan? What were some pivotal moments throughout your life that led you to where you are now?
So yeah, assalamu alaikum everyone. Let me know if the audio does cut, but for me, so I'm on unceded Algonquin territory right now. I go to U Ottawa, but I originate from Edmonton, Treaty 6. The difference between treaty versus unceded, I feel like I have to acknowledge that. I mean, the land here hasn't been given up, and until today, they're still fighting for it. Whereas in Treaty 6, there was a treaty that was signed, the obligations and the boundaries aren't being contested, if that even is being fulfilled. I'm not even going to talk about the genocidal violence behind the treaty making to begin with, but I think that's a good framework for who I am. Ever since I was a kid, I always asked questions to the point where I remember this so clearly. My dad sat me down one day after Maghrib. My family, we made a rule to pray Maghrib together, and then we'd give feedback to each other on how our day was after Maghrib. So my dad sat me down. He was like, "Man, sometimes, you know, like you should have just asked all these questions, you know, like just sit there and listen to people, because listening is a skill that you need to hone too." And I was like, you know what, you're right. But I also want to ask why, like, why do I have to do that? So in that moment, he learned from me that asking was more so the curiosity that I had. But I also learned from him a skill that I take with my work today, which is listening. I don't want to say I'm the best listener, but my parents' feedback has stuck with me. So I guess that kind of gives like insight into how my respective journey, feedback, always wanting to improve myself, always learning. I think I want to see myself as a lifelong learner, especially when you choose a career where it's so easily normalized to be indoctrinated. Like it's that slim where you can miss a step. And so I like to involve myself in spaces like this. I like to, go to conversations where the predominant group is Muslims, because I think as Muslims, we see the world in a way where we understand it's the hereafter that we're trying to go for, that this life is temporary. And whenever I leave conversations like that and I go to class, I always think, okay, no, this is temporary. This stress that I feel right now. And I should preface that I don't work at the commissioner's office anymore. So that's like another stress that existed in my life at one point, what human rights even is. But I'm going into criminal justice. So I think wanting to be a public defender, that patience that I'm trying so hard to hold is a skill that inshallah comes in handy. If not, all of you are getting DMs from me in the future. This summer you'll probably get a message like, hey, I need a smile, I need some artwork therapy, because I think that's where you go and you heal and you get ready for whatever the world has to throw at you. We're probably going to get into it later about existing as a Black Muslim woman, but it's definitely not easy. It's not.
No, it's not. And that's a good segue actually into the next question, because it isn't easy. This life isn't easy. And as Black Muslim women, it's especially hard as well, living in the world we live in. So what does empowerment mean to you? Do you feel like it's a contested or co-opted term nowadays with, all these conversations on equity, diversity, and inclusion, but what are we getting included to? And how might we apply, this understanding as Black Muslim women? What does empowerment mean to you? Maybe Ayana, I'll start with you now.
I would say like empowerment means to me specifically, I don't know if it's to everyone, but like intention, because a lot of the time the diversity and inclusion conversations are like, hey, we're going to have a conversation about you with you in the room. And there's like 3 of us, So it's like, hey, we're learning about us in our own space, but there's not enough of us. So it just doesn't make sense. So it's like the intention, it's like, this is not a slideshow we have to do yearly or annually or every 6 months. And this is something that we have to go through, but really actually recognizing that it exists instead of that it does not exist. And then bringing people in that actually reflect that and actually explain that and make it more comfortable for us, especially during those types of conversations.
Yeah, that's so important. Thank you. Intention. And Warda, what about you?
For me, I think that I want to start by saying, like, when people see us, they see the hijab, right? They assume that like we live a life of oppression, and they have these like preconceived notions about us. But like, honestly, to me, Islam is like a big part of how I view empowerment. So I would say that empowerment to me is valuing myself as a Muslim woman and demanding like respect through my character and my intellect, and not through like society's like distorted type of standards,
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
No, that's great. Thank you. And what about you, Hanan?
So they both kind of touched on it, what I wanted to say, so I'll take it in a different way. I think when you even go out into the world wearing a hijab and then you have the skin tone, right away people want to make you into like a freedom fighter. They want you to, lie down and take this struggle and, bear the brunt of whatever the heck the new problem is. And I think the issue with that is it starts to make me, I only speak for myself in this, but it makes me hate the word trailblazer, for instance. And I think that word really takes away the pain that comes with being the first person to make a trail, to go and start to initiate, hey, why do we do that to people? That's not appropriate. And then suddenly your character is being assassinated, you're being called a cynic, you're being called everything under the sun, and opportunities start to be taken away from you because you dared ask a question. But then, 5 years from now, there might be an Olay commercial talking about colorism or something, because now it's empowerment. So I'd like to leave the people that are listening with that thought of, when you see empowerment, why do you just think of our bodies and not just our minds and the intellect we bring and our creativity? Because I know I'm so much more than whatever I'm doing at school or whatever my job is. I have thoughts, I have feelings. So yeah, that's kind of where I wanna leave that.
Yes,
Oh,
beautiful.
Siva.
Thank you. And do you guys feel that your experiences of as Black Muslim women has shaped the way you approach your work or your activism? And in what ways do you think your experiences have shaped the way you approach your work? I know you just spoke, Hanan, but maybe I'll just start with you to switch it up a little bit.
Yeah, and kind of linking off my last answer, because I have that mentality now, I think when I was younger, so I'm 26 now, I think when I was younger, like around 20, I used to be very accepting to new opportunities and roles. And what that created was a yes man, because I was like, yes, because now I'm in these spaces and I can advocate better in those spaces. But then I'm removed from those spaces, or people don't want to take me seriously because of what I say. And then after that, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna say what I want to say when I want to say it, and if they want to hear it, they're gonna hear it, and that's it. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. And I think that comes with a lot of privilege as well. Being able to sit here right now and say, I can say whatever I want, and if I lose my job, then I can go after the man that tries to take my job, or if there's a nonprofit that's assassinating my character, I can go after them because I have a platform to do that. I think a lot of Muslim women, Black Muslim women specifically, don't have that privilege, not because we don't want it, but because it's taken from us. So whenever we try to get in spaces like this, people right away are like, nope, not you. You shouldn't even get that microphone. And it's sad that, sometimes it does come within our own community. As much as I love to believe in our Muslim brothers and sisters sometimes, I think they forget that Black Muslims have a different experience than what they have. And it's hard. It's really hard. I like, intersectionality is a concept that I still struggle with to this day. But at the root of it, if you always try to keep Islam at the center of it, I think those conversations go much easier. They do get awkward when people just focus on Bilal. And it's like, no, mashallah, he's done what he has to do. Let him rest. Let's talk about me who's here now. So that's another thing that I want to leave with people that are listening. Like, if you're a Muslim, try to take some time to hear other, specifically pigmented melanin Muslims' experiences on things.
Absolutely. And thanks for saying that, Hanan. What about you, Warda? How has your experiences as a Black Muslim woman shaped the way you approach your work and activism, and in what ways?
So the type of work I do is a lot of community work. I work with a lot of Muslim people, but we're not closed off to just Muslim people. We work with like a lot of, all sorts of religions, all sorts of peoples. We're not really closed off to anybody at all. But I think that being a Black Muslim woman in this type of work has mainly taught me about like sabr, which is like patience for people who don't know what that is. And having that patience and understanding for people that I didn't get when I was younger is something that really is something that I hold strong in the work that I do, because sometimes like we're all navigating life, we're all navigating this dunya, this world, and we're just trying to do the best we can and make it to the afterlife, especially if you're Muslim, and having that patience and understanding for everything that you do in life, whether it's for yourself, whether it's for the people around you, whether it's for the things that you do, it's a big part, because like everybody, how am I trying to put this? Everybody, I don't know, it's like almost like a simulation game. Like everybody's a different character. Everybody's like, everybody has a different purpose here. And it's like, you try to do the best you can with what you can. And especially since COVID, I think it's really pushed me to have a lot more patience and a lot more understanding for everybody, because it's like so many people dealt with it in different ways and it affected everybody in different ways, that I took a step back as a person, and I'm looking at it as a bigger picture, and I'm like, okay, how can I help people deal with life or navigate through life, even as somebody who is navigating through life as I go. I'm not perfect, you know, like I was like, I'm just lottie dying and trying to figure it out as I go. But but it is like I don't know, that's just something I really hold close to me and like the work that I do. And honestly, it seems to be working even in my day-to-day like job. Like as I work, I occasionally work at a shawarma restaurant if you guys want shawarma. But I had like a customer one day come in and like he was just like some white guy, you know, and he was just talking to me about his mom and how she's a very big part of his life and she had recently passed away. And you know, I'm just making shawarmas and I was like, yeah, let me just have a conversation with this guy. And the fact that I gave him that patience and understanding and what he needed that I didn't even know I was giving him, it was just like something that's just like worked into my head. He came back the next day to my boss and he was like, you know, they call me Warda, but like, you know, she just having that conversation with her made me feel so much better. Like I was devastated, I was brokenhearted. And the fact that she took some time out of her like busy little work schedule to listen to me and to understand me meant so much. And like he like brought me flowers, which was so cute. But yeah, you know, I just like I feel rewarded by simple things like that, you know. So I guess that's how it shapes the way I work. But yeah,
that's really beautiful, and may Allah reward you for that. Thank you. What about you, Ayan? How have your experiences as a Black Muslim woman shaped the way you approach your work?
First, I resonated with both what Hanan and Warda said, especially Warda. That means like you were a vessel, like Ilahi made sure you were there for that purpose to speak to him. So I think that's really beautiful. But I would say that the thing that I noticed the most is that we know, like I know I'm a Black Muslim woman and I'm aware of it, but it's like everyone else is hyper aware when you come into a space. So it's like, as much as you're just like, oh, it's just me, like it's just a regular day. Like I'm just coming to work, I'm just going to the space, I'm just coming in and maybe like even filling up my Presto card. It could just be the randomest thing, but people notice us way more than we notice them. And it's like, the one thing that I notice the most is like, we're always like underestimated, which I perfectly, like in the past, they used to upset me. Like I used to make sure that, you know, that I'm in this space, like no matter what it comes down to, like if it has to be like that hard conversation you have like with upper management or things like that, like I was always available to do that. But now I kind of like being underestimated because it's like, I know what I'm capable of. Yeah, I don't have to prove it to anybody. Ilahi knows what I'm capable of. It's like, I just feel lighter. I'll be honest, because it's like before I felt like I had to prove something, but now it's like I'm aware of what I'm capable of. And it's like the easier thing for my health and my mental health is to actually just choose the fact that I do have to do the things a little bit more than everybody else. But at the end of the day, it's like when I do them, it'll be a little bit of a surprise.
Right. Love that. Thank you, all of you, for answering those questions and giving such, introspective answers. Okay, now the questions I have next are geared specifically to the person I'm going to ask. So I'm going to start with, who shall I start with? I'll start with Warda. So Warda, you do a lot of content creation on social media, right? So how have you used social media to further your community work? Have you had to intentionally navigate various platforms or vice versa?
So for the first question, what was it? I'm looking at the questions too, because I'd be forgetting, I'm not gonna lie. How have I used social media? I have used social media as a way of connecting with people like all over the world. It is obviously one of our easiest like networking platforms, right? Instagram, TikTok, stuff like that. It's the best way to get around and the quickest way to spread word, even though like it's like a love-hate relationship between using social media and then like trying to also use it for good. You're like fighting evil and good at the same time. You don't know what you're doing. I'm trying to use it for good, I promise. But I think based off a lot of the connections that I've made with the people that I meet, like simply just with a hi or whatever it is, and they find me on social media and they follow me, it just provides more of an audience for me to share the work that I'm doing, share the work that I see being done, you know, give people their flowers and let people know what's going on, because not everybody's aware of, you know, all these different things that are happening, whether it's a protest or an event or, you know, a networking opportunity or whatever it is. So I think social media, because we are, you know, in that generation of like everything internet, is a huge part of how I connect to people and how I get to share with people and talk to people, you know. And to the second part, what is it? How have I intentionally navigated various platforms?
Like, do you find some platforms more useful for in certain contexts or vice versa? Like,
Yes, actually, yeah. I think TikTok is definitely a platform when I use it. It's kind of just, I take it more of like a light form, like in a lighter use where I just share like day to day or like comedy. I love making people laugh and smile. So that's like what I do there. And then that also connects me to more people because they tend to be like, oh my God, like I love your work. And you know, this is so funny. I can relate to it. And then they keep up with me. And then by keeping up with me, they get to see all these different things that they didn't know about before, which is like amazing, you know? And for Instagram, I mainly use that to promote all the different type of works and being done and, you know, anything that's kind of going on around me. So I don't think it's really hard. I wouldn't say it's really hard for me. I guess like kind of already growing up in the generation that always used Instagram and TikTok, but I'm thankful for it because it has connected me to various people around the world, which is like the craziest part of it. And I have people who, if they come to Toronto, they'll like DM me and they'll be like, hey, like, I see your stuff. I'm going to come to Toronto. Do you have any suggestions for me? And I'm like, oh my God, am I your tour guide? Like, I love this. I'm like, yes, come to these events. And then it's great because like all these people are so thankful that they got to, you know, they're like, oh my God, I've been interested in that. Like, I get to go. Thank you for posting it and sharing it. Like, you know, and then I'm like, if I'm there, I'll be like, I'll be your friend. I'm excited. Let's go together, you know? So yeah, social media, good for now.
Yeah, no, the way social media has really been able to like build communities, like communities across geography is really remarkable. So it's something that I was very resistant to, I feel like at first, but now I really truly welcome. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go to Hanan. What inspired you to get involved with social justice and in the legal space?
Yeah, okay. So, oof. I mean, as a kid, when I was growing up, I never really understood inequities. Like, it just wasn't a concept to me because we had food on the table, you know, I never had to worry about rent. Like, my parents were working and taking care of us. Like, subhanAllah, my mom and dad did a very good job hiding the atrocities of the world from us. To the point where I remember I was seeing 9/11 happen on the TV and the way CNN was describing Islam. And I was like, wait, people think like this? And my parents were like, no, 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 no. And they like turned it off. I'm like, oh, no, no, that's just not the news. Don't listen to that. And I was like, wow, okay. I think that was like the rude awakening that I had. And then going to school, I went to a school that was predominantly Black, Indigenous, Arab students. So, you know, there was colorism, but like I didn't understand the brutality of racism. Again, guys, this is like Alberta. This is Edmonton. And I was that sheltered by my parents. And I think when I started hearing about the gun violence, specifically affecting young Somali men, that I was just shook to my core. Like, these are young men that are my age. How did we have different trajectories in life? How did that happen? And I think it was a lot of like, well, okay, how does the family structure work? It's not the family structure, it's financial burden. Okay, well, how does the justice system work? How come people are not being held accountable for their acts? Oh, so it doesn't work for us. It's meant for a specific group of people. So again, I think that was the start of things. And then it was like rude awakening after rude awakening. Like I learned way too much, I think, in a span of from 2008 to 2015. I was just like hit over and over. And instead of feeling discouraged, because I was discouraged for a little while, I thought, you know what? at this point, if they've been running this for this long and getting away with it, there is an audacity here that I need to develop. I need to have that muscle that they have and use that to my advantage. And when I was saying this as a kid, mind you, I haven't changed how I speak. When I was saying this as a kid, teachers were writing on my like counseling reports, like, you know, when you get the grade reports, they leave the comments for the parents. Your child is like, she's very introverted, but she gets loud when it comes to injustices about kids. And my parents were like, what's wrong with that? Like, why are you writing that as her feedback? Like, I want to hear about her math score. Like, she's not doing good in math. And I think that was what I learned about the education system used as a tool to stop specifically people like me from going into higher education. And race and religion plays a huge part in that. I don't think I would have gotten into, forget law school, undergrad, if it wasn't specific teachers that didn't even teach me. Like, these were just people that I met at school, and they were like, hey, you want to do this? I believe in you. And the coincidence we had was they had Black children. They had Muslim children that they were raising. Same in my undergrad. The teacher that I had was a Black Muslim man from Uganda, and he has daughters that were in my year. And he was like, you want to go to law school? Bet. Like, I'll do whatever I can to help you. And when people say that, I don't take them seriously, which is so sad. Like, when people say, I got you, I'm like, yeah, let's see how far you got me until, you know, so this, like, the bad comes in and you're like, dang, I can't stay here. Like, I gotta go. So I don't hold that against people. But when this man said he got me. Like, the fact that I can go to law, the fact that I can practice and inshallah go into criminal defense, I owe it to those pillars in my community, like how Wanda was pointing out. I think people take community work for granted because they are the ones who really push our youth to be in the spaces that they are today. And I owe that all to them. But I'd love to like have some cute story that some of my classmates have. Like, my mom and dad, you know, are professors, and like, I loved reading law books growing up. No. I was just hit with like the brutal honesty of the world. And I was like, you know, either I'm going to sit with this and ignore the news for the rest of my life and ignore the state of the world, or I'm going to take that guilt that I feel, that privilege that I have, and say, nah, I'm not gonna, this is not okay.
Not okay. Mashallah. All right, Ayan, can you discuss as an artist your creative process and how you bring your ideas to life in your art?
Yes, first I was dying at the, but I would say representation for Black Muslim women in my artwork comes from the fact that it's a part of me. So no matter what I'm creating for somebody, a little bit of myself always shows up in that. So whether it be like a graphic work that I'm doing for someone, or if someone asks me to facilitate something, I'm still showing up in that. So I count myself. But also, I would say a lot of the time, henna, like just like the type of, I feel like my doodle style is literally in henna. So a lot of that shows up in my work. And then color grading too. So the color theory is like the coolest part, I think, of any type of artwork. And it's like colors actually equivalent to like emotions. So a lot of the time it's like you could actually map that into your work as well. I feel like it would understand better if I explained it a little bit better. But I feel like when someone explains their vision to me and tells me that they want to include certain things, that's where it shows up for me.
I love the color, the way colors represent emotions and how you bring that into the work. That's beautiful. I love that. Okay, I'm going to come back to you, Warda. Can you speak to us a little bit about your coming back to TikTok? Because TikTok is very foreign to me. For me, it feels like social media on ADD, but I'm trying to get into it a little bit more. But how has been your experience with TikTok as a content creator? And do you feel that your experience has been shaped by your identities as a Black Muslim and young woman?
Yes. Okay. So obviously I am not a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, girl. So it definitely is a different experience. I think that as a TikTok content creator, being Black Muslim, even though like I'm a lighter Black Muslim and everybody's like, what are you? And I'm like, guys, I'm Somali, I swear. Because it's like, even within your own community, sometimes you have to fight and be like, no, I swear, like I'm your people, like, it's quite funny. But for the most part, people are supportive. But I think that I not that I cater to a specific audience, but like I guess I speak for a specific audience because the type of content that I do when it's really in relation to like anything comedy wise is it speaks to people who have similar upbringing, similar experience, similar understandings, you know? So it kind of shortens the spectrum of like who my content reaches and who sees my content, you know? But you get the one-off chance where like there's somebody who's like not Muslim or like not Black at all, and they're like, oh, this is actually very funny, and they appreciate it for that. They appreciate me for that. Whereas like if I was, you know, the basic standard of what TikTok wants to see or the content that people want to see, I would have so many more followers and so much more, you know, viewers as well. Cause it's like our people, we constantly support anybody. Doesn't matter skin, race, religion, you know what I mean? We'll just support. If it's good content, it's good content. You're not hating, you know? But we don't get that reciprocation back. So it does, how would I say? It does, you know, kind of shape the way that I do my content. And I think that it does also shape the way I am as a Black Muslim woman, because like it's not something that like I don't want to cater to anybody. I want to, if when I do something, I want to do it for myself. And it's like whoever can understand, whoever this reaches and it makes them laugh, it makes them smile, they can understand, they can relate, they can vibe to, they can share with somebody, then like alhamdulillah for it. Because I'm not here to please anybody. I'm here to navigate the world as I am. And I think that we no longer need to hide. Like we don't need to like fit in this box that people constantly try to push us into to be in, you know, like I think that especially nowadays with like, especially with like Black History Month and this upbringing of like all these Muslim people just coming out on social media and working together, it's a beautiful thing that is going on. And I think that like we're gonna take over one day, people. You know, we're gonna take over and we're gonna be the new normal, you know, because we're not the normal. But then again, like what is normal, you know? It's like
Well, I'm proud of you for taking up space and claiming that space and doing it unapologetically, because far too long we've been pushed to the margins, and it's time, as Bell Hooks would say, to center us and do that with sincerity and refusing to fit in. So
I've done that for too long. Sorry.
So I'm proud of you. No, that's beautiful. Mashallah. Thank you. Okay, Hanan, what advice can you give to any young Black Muslim women who are interested in pursuing a career in law? What are some challenges they may face, and what are some maybe tips you can give on overcoming them from your experience, at least?
I feel like if you asked me this when I first started law school, my advice right now and then is very different. Okay. So exactly, yeah. Take this with a grain of salt, people. Sure. But I think I was very optimistic with programs that claim to be social justice oriented. And I'm not coming for the University of Ottawa, like I'm a board member there, like, that's not what this is. I'm just saying, when you take a class or you trust in a mentor or a person in the legal profession, try to have a little bit of, tilt your head a little bit. Yeah, have a little bit of a guard, because two things. One, I already knew when I was coming in that I didn't want to, like, I don't believe in the criminal justice system, point blank period. I don't agree with people being punished. I think that is a very old version way of thinking. And it's just, it's just slavery times two. Like, that's what it is. And so when I got into law school, I saw that indoctrination phase already start to happen from the beginning. And it was happening from people that are in that space that are trying to say, we need more Black Muslim women here because, we want to do reform. And it's like, what are the reforms of getting the police their body cameras? What'd that do for us? Now they're recording our murders and putting it on the TV. Like, damn, now people are going to see the lynchings live and they're going to watch and they're going to share it. So I think I was very naive to come in and not have a guard because, I always have a guard, but when it comes to people that claim to champion us, we always want to trust them, right? But subhanAllah, now I think I have thicker skin. Like when I'm approached specifically by anyone who claims to be championing anything that has to do with abolition, let me just say abolition, I now like to, Google is free, see where they've been spending their money, where have they been investing, what cases have they taken on themselves, what type of specific prisoners' rights do they try to advocate for? The right white collar defense, or is it marijuana freedom release? Because apparently people can smoke that here, but we got people in jail for that still. So these are the type of things now in my third year. As you can see, I'm very cynical when it comes to it. But to the original question, if a Black Muslim woman today was asking me, and I say this to every person that wants to go to criminal defense, please do it because I need you. If you don't even want to go in court and litigate, that's fine. I need you. I want to have someone that I can bounce ideas off of. I need to have someone that can validate my anger, the sadness that I feel. Because when you talk to your own coworkers, there's not a lot of Black Muslim women in this field, but when you talk to them, you have a lot of emotion. Should you be taking this case? And it's like, should we not? Should we be okay with this? And then you get, potential questions about if your emotions will be too far for a client, because in law you have to have a boundary. And I'm like, no, I see him like we're like this. Even though we met yesterday, we're like this. He's not going. That's how I see things. And so if a girl, even boys, if the Muslim man is listening, Black Muslim, please apply. My DMs are always open. My email, I can even put it in the chat after this. Age is literally just a number. I have classmates that have done a PhD and they want to go into law now. So don't let anyone stop you. If you have sadness and anger for the system before 2020, before this George Floyd Mistakeen was executed, then know that you have a champion. Inshallah, I will do my best to advocate for you as I do with everyone else. But I want to be protected too. Homies, come through, please. It's very small. Can you see how desperate I sound, trying to get people to apply? Please do.
Oh my gosh. Yes, please apply more. And I need support. I can imagine though, being in a system that, at its foundation is a racist system. So working in that, even as you're trying to challenge it, right, I could see how it can be very, not debilitating, but overwhelming. And if you feel alone, right? So I hear you and hope that you have a bigger community coming to you soon, inshallah. Okay, Ayan, I have a last question for you. How has your artwork evolved over time, and what experiences or influences have shaped your growth as an artist?
I would say my artwork evolved over time based on the styles that I choose, because I feel like I'm constantly pivoting, especially due to COVID. I think that was the biggest pivot of being online and remote. But it changed the most, I would say, first, I would say it started when I was 22, 23-ish, because I was in social work type fields and I had a lot of free time after that. So I was like, let me actually explore the fact that I love henna. Let me try it on people. Let me see it. It wasn't great when I first started. I had to keep it on wraps and do it with my mom and do it with people that I knew until I got better at it and better at it. And then I feel like I had to explore different types, because the one thing that I noticed about exploring something that you love is that you do have to do the research yourself. It's something that you have to commit to and actually be honest with yourself. And then once doing that and my hand became steadier, I was like, I kind of like calligraphy now. Let me move on to calligraphy. So once I got into calligraphy, I had to actually attend a workshop. And I attended a workshop to learn better on my positioning and like my hand movements and things. And it was like predominantly white women. And it was very alarming that that it was just like the space for calligraphy and actually the space for henna online, if you actually search up the hashtags, is actually white women. And I thought that was very different considering like the history and the ancestry behind the art is actually not from those whatever regions those are. So that's the part that was actually very interesting. So once I learned about that, I was like, okay, you know what, we have to actually show our hands creating things like that, especially on social media. So a lot of my earlier videos was just my black hand just doing the artwork on different platforms and showing it visually. And that was like my main goal. And once I finished that, I was like, okay, I actually want to be able to share it because gatekeeping in the creative community is like a really, really, really big thing. And that's the one thing that doesn't settle well with me. So if there's up and coming artists or people that are interested in any type of craft, I thought I would give an option to teach it. So if you're interested in it, if anyone else is interested in it, like the option to actually learn it from someone who looks like you was like very important to me. So I started actually teaching it, and then art therapy. Once I started teaching it, I was like, let me facilitate a couple more for nonprofits that I was familiar with in my social aspect of my project coordinator type work I was doing. I was like, let me come to those spaces and teach in those spaces because there's a bunch of kids that look like me and they would probably really, really like value the type of work that I'm sharing, especially because they can resonate with the fact that they look like me as well. So that's the type of work that I was doing. And the work that I do now is more remote and online because of COVID. And to take up space in that way, to use my eye to actually pivot into graphic design was actually a really cool experience because there's a lot of software that you have to learn. So again, it's teaching yourself. There's a lot of software you have to learn to be able to share graphic work online and to meet the criteria for different types of projects that I take on, meet their vision goals and actually match up the business side of art because it's hand in hand. That's the part that also is not spoken about, but there's a lot of admin. There's a lot of creating invoices. If you've never created them before, you've got to learn. Actually learning how to take money without saying I'm taking money. So you have to actually be interested in the financial aspect. I've attended financial workshops. So it's a lot of self-taught, but there's a huge community that you could always lean into and reach for. So I feel like those are the things that I learned about the most.
Wow, mashallah. Thank you. That's actually probably a good probably opportunity to have some spaces for that, because I think financial literacy and that side of entrepreneurship is actually so important to learn about. So you've just sparked a little something. Maybe that'll be the next CCMW event, inshallah. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, so I'm done with our questions. I would love to open up to our people who have joined us today. If anybody has any questions they would like to ask any of the panelists, please feel free to pop them into the chat. And while they're doing that, maybe if we could take a couple minutes to plug yourselves, please, where people can reach you, where to find you on social media, things like that. So Warda, maybe if you could let us know. What are your handles, things like that? Where we can find you?
So my Instagram handle is Warda. Wait, now I have to check. Oh my God, no, I forgot my name. It's warda.mxd. I did that for like Muhammad, but it's like warda.mxd, and you should see my very light face just right there. And then my TikTok is Where the Money At. It's a very funny name.
I like
that. Thank you. It's very versatile, actually. I got it in high school. Like one day somebody was just saying my name and they're like, where the money at? And then it just stuck. So now it's like a question for everything. It's like, where the respect at? Where's this at? Where's that at? It's just so funny. When they can't find me, they go, where the what at? And I'm like, oh my God, guys, too much.
no,
That's so funny. And what about you, Ayan? Where can we find you?
on Instagram. So Ayan and then a period art. I don't primarily use my other socials as much, to be honest. So I think that's the main one that I would say. And then on my Instagram, there's a connection for email option as well.
Okay, great. And Warda, that was a good call to pop the handles in the chat. Thank you. So maybe Ayan,
Okay.
you can do that as well. And Hanan, where can we find you?
All my socials are Hanan_Mahmood. I'm not on Twitter anymore. I mean, it's still up, but I'm not using it anymore. And Instagram, all my pictures are gone. So, but you can DM me and I will answer you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, do we have any questions? I don't think we have any questions. So maybe Iman, are you getting anything? I'm not sure how the questions work.
I don't see any in the chat, but everyone, you're all welcome to use the raise hand feature. If you want to say your question out loud, you can just unmute yourself and ask a question as well.
There's no bad questions, guys.
At all. But it has been a very dynamic and versatile conversation. So I really appreciate all three of you for joining us tonight. I've been inspired by each and every one of you. So thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Question about henna. About henna, I'm not sure if that's a question. Celine, did you want to ask a question out loud or? No?
Yeah. I mean, I love henna. One of my friends that came from Yemen used to do henna. You're from Yemen too?
Yeah, I'm mixed Somali and Yemen.
Oh, cool stuff. She taught me about henna, and she's Jewish, but she has the same ways of as everybody else. And they were doing it for weddings, for a beautiful henna for hands. And I love the history. She told me, well, it's because of India, it's because of this, it's because of that. But the art form, it's congratulations on carrying on the tradition. And where did you learn it? Did you learn it from India, from the Middle East, from Ethiopia, because everywhere they're doing it and it's a different format.
I think that's for you, Ayan. Where did you learn? You mostly self-taught, I think you said, but did you learn from anybody specifically?
I would say that I learned from the aunties. So getting henna done, first time I ever got henna done was in Dixon.
Shout out Dixon.
Yeah, I got black and orange henna, and at that time black and orange henna was like the Eid henna, so that was the first time that I've received henna. And I'd say it's not limited to like the South Asian community. So in my last henna workshop, I actually pulled out like a map, and then I showed all the places where henna plant can grow, because it's like based on a climate. It's a shrub that grows and it needs like a really hot climate, and a person, shout out to that person that created the map, proved like the different points where it grows, and that's the different styles of different people. So like Moroccan henna is completely different from like East African henna. It'd be like line work and like syringe work. And then I would say that Sudanese henna is like the thick, bold, like swirls and lines. So every region kind of has their own style, but it's like because of social media, it's like fused together now. So everyone kind of uses like a little bit of each, and we get inspired by different types of henna. So I would say like it's beautiful that we actually get to do it ourselves, because when I was seeing our aunties do it, they would take like pasta, the pasta bag, and they'd burn it with a butter knife and roll it into a cone and burn the edge of the butter knife and then pour the henna inside of it.
That's
So
how
like
you do it?
that's I tried doing that, and then I realized there's easier options for everything. So I found out that you use cello.
I heard about tape,
Yeah.
like people using black tape, but
Yeah.
burning? Wow. our
That's
people are
the new
creative.
one.
That's
Because
intense.
I always wondered why my Hoya had like 500 pasta bags in the kitchen, and she would just cut it open, and I just watched her roll it every time. So it was very interesting to see. But
Yeah.
props to you, Ayan, man. Like I do henna occasionally, but I've seen your work around, and I've seen your workshops, and I've always wanted to go to them. And it's amazing. And guys, henna is actually back-breaking work. So wallahi, appreciate your henna artist when you can, because my mom has done it for several years. Unfortunately, she did stop because it did create complications for her. But it's a beautiful art, and it's like you get your money's worth when you do henna. So like it's an amazing thing.
When did you start doing henna?
I want to say, what am I, 24? I like started when I was like 18. So I always watched my Hoya do henna. And I always had the house where there was a bunch of aunties in the crib every time I came back from school. So I was always helping my aunt, like my mom, scrape henna off people's feet and do like scrape it off their hands and stuff. And then from then, and I was like, you know what, let me just try it. And so I learned how to do black henna and like then red henna. And then I started like figuring out my style. I don't take it too seriously because I just get nervous. And I'm like, you know, there's other people out there. I was like, they can do it better. Like I just can't. But it is something that I do love to do. I love doing it on myself. It's like my version of like halal tattoos. So, so I'm like, I forget that I do henna until like somebody occasionally reminds me, and they're like, "I can do my henna." I'm like, "Oh yeah." I was like, "Yeah, of course." I come out, and then oh my God, it's just reminding me of like elementary school, and people were always like, "Is that Sharpie on your hand?" And I'm like, "No, what? What do you mean Sharpie?" Like, I don't want to die from intoxication. No, it's henna. It was fun though. So I props to you, and like it's amazing work. And the fact that you're teaching a bunch of people, it is hard, and people are like, you know, they don't know how to get started, they don't know what to do. But it's honestly, you need to have a steady hand and like hand-eye coordination. So it's really it might look easy and people don't understand that, but it's as soon as you get that in your hand, oh, you're in shambles. So yeah.
Yeah, but the thing I love the most is like it brings people together. It starts conversation for us, especially for brides and stuff. Like I've had the most interesting conversations by connecting with people intimately like that, because you're just like with people. So even like when you're saying your mom's friends and stuff, like the conversation flows. Like that's how they communicate. Like that's their community. So like those types of things is like the reason why sometimes you come back to it, because I know it's backbreaking, wrist breaking, lower back, neck, all of it. It's all in it. But like as long as we pace ourselves. So I've taken a break like for the past 3 hennas, and it's been amazing. Like it was amazing, but I feel like coming back to it this time around, maybe I might actually come back to it and pace it just like I used to pace it before COVID. Mm-hmm. Timing it for like an hour, even though it might take me less than an hour. So I get those breaks in, and like maybe this I actually want to look into collabing with other henna artists so we're not all dying. So up to you, Arda.
Please call me. I'm not as great, but I have done 8 henna and I love it. So I was like, yeah.
Okay, so we do have a queue of questions coming up. I do see your hands, Nazat and Celine, but there is a couple that came in the chat as well. So I have one from Hiba, who is asking, with International Women's Day coming up, any advice you may have for anyone who is struggling in a community as a visible minority and how to thrive? It's a hard one. Does anybody want to offer some advice to Hiba?
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Yas. Sorry, I didn't raise the hand. Is
that Hiba talking?
No, it's Yasmin Khan. I'm new to the. Yeah, so I just wanted to ask if anybody can answer
the question, right?
Yeah, about the question. Sorry, I just got lost. Can you repeat the question, that how to, if you're visible?
Oh, Hiba was asking any advice, if any of the panelists can share some advice for someone who's struggling in a community as a visible minority on how to thrive.
Okay, panelists can, yeah, you can go ahead. I will listen.
I would say, as somebody who does community work, I would say it's just kind of, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, it takes a second to kind of feel comfortable, because you're not sure about the community, you're not sure about the people there, you know, it's nerves, it's a bunch of different things intertwined. But honestly, owning that space and having your voice heard even once, you don't you'll be very surprised at the amount of support you're going to get from that community, especially assuming it's the right community and a community you do want to be a part of. I've had so many events where people were so scared to share, or they didn't want to talk because they felt like, it would be like vice versa, because like a lot of my events were Muslim dominated. And so we had the occasional non-Muslim people, whether they're Black, white, or whatever they were. And they were so scared to share or like say anything. And then by listening to the responses of everybody else sharing and talking, and by even having simple conversations with us, they felt so comfortable to just open up and say, and the amount of support that they got, like, made them feel comfortable sharing that space. So it's really about just saying, like, kind of just like a bismillah and do it, because you never know what kind of impact you yourself will have on other people who might have been thinking the same thing as you were, or wanted to say the same thing as you were, or anything like that. So it's just putting your foot out there and, like, dipping your toe in the water. It's the first step, but I promise you'll have a great swim as soon as you do it, inshallah. So I say go for it. I was definitely scared too at first when I started doing community work. I was like, like, people don't want to listen to what I have to say. I don't really have anything intelligent to input in anything, or like, what if I mess up what I'm saying, or I sound stupid or something like that. But it's when you find the right people, or when you find your community, you find like a whole new family. You find a whole new source of support and love, and just, you just thrive in that type of space, and you just get introduced to a plethora of opportunities. So I say, put your best foot forward and see what happens. Yeah.
Do you still have a question, Nazat? You want to ask?
Oh, I do, but I do want to hear the answer to Sraya's question about which henna is the one that lasts the longest.
I would say the henna that lasts the longest is actually none, I would say, because they have an expiry date of like 2 weeks. Like, not that it expires, but it exfoliates. So it's just based on your wear. So it's based on like how many showers you exfoliate with, if you sweat a lot because you have a couple workouts that week. So you really have to plan for like that 5-day window where you have that event, or you have the thing, or you have the photo shoot, or whatever it is that you're working towards. And the other 5 weeks is like the fading process. Without it being like visible, it'll fade gradually, just as your skin regularly exfoliates. So it's like, you can't really control the 100% which one is going to stay more than another one. So
interesting. I always thought the dark, for some reason, I just thought the darker one lasted longer, but I guess
we love it, so we just don't wash it. It's just too much that week. We don't take that hot shower too much. We are taking care of it. You could protect it. The most you could do to protect it is like, if you're about to do a sport, you could put like Vaseline on it to seal it. And you could like just make sure that when you put that Vaseline on it, it's like there's a water barrier, but then it gets complicated. So there's no real answer. But I wanted to answer the question before that.
Please do. Sorry.
Because I feel like that question, to be able to ask that in a space like this, is so cool, because when we were growing up and we had those types of questions, they didn't really exist. I feel like we can't be like, hey, like, what does it feel like to be a visible minority? So I think that's really cool. But also, it's like, being a visible minority, it's like never being 100% comfortable. So I don't think there's like no measurement of like actually knowing like this is how it comfortably feels, because we kind of enter spaces and it's like the challenge part is the part that's beautiful, because you never really know what the outcome is going to be. We can never plan for it. And like, that's the beautiful part of like our religion. Like, you don't know the outcome. And if you don't know the outcome, you just have to try your best. Like what they'll say, like, put your best foot forward, like dip your toe in. And then once you do that and you see results, maybe in like touching like even the smallest aspects of your goals, because I do like 6-month and 3-month goals sometimes. And I go back and I look, and like out of the 8, maybe 1 was done, and I'm proud of myself. Like, I just have to be like, okay, like the fact that I wrote down a goal, first of all, is a big one. And then to actually come back and laugh at some of the goals, because it's just like, you can't really hit all of them, but it's not really meant for you, you know?
Right. And what is meant for you will never miss you.
Yep.
Sure. What about you, Hanan? Did you want to contribute to the answer to that question, or you're good?
I love both of the answers. I think I kind of leave it on how us as a people, like I'm Somali, and I think even the way I said it, you see, that's how the accent came out. That's that indoctrination that I've been telling you guys about. Allah. So for me, I think not being around my community shows. It shows in my work. It shows in how I pray. It shows in how I think. And so I try to be mindful that this is not just a me thing. Our society was a collectivist community. It wasn't individualized. There's no such thing as that in our language even. And so when you come to a country like this, where I was born, and I'm seeing how, you know, everyone is siloed off, even how they have their own offices and how they keep to themselves and they don't share their struggles and they deal with significant mental health issues on their own, as if it's normal. I realize that doesn't have to be me. I don't have to die on that hill. I can actually call my sister and say, hey, come pick me up. Can we go get ice cream for like 5 minutes and just chat for like about anything? And I think doing that more often has coincided with prayer. So prayer for me is a priority 100%. So every time I pray, I'm like, okay, did I talk to my mom today? Did I talk to my dad today? I'm going to talk to them and bother them about some random thing that I heard. Even if they don't want to hear it, I have to bother them because it disrupts the thinking process of you being like, okay, I went to work, I came back home, I have to study, I have to do this. It's only me. No, it's not. Like, it's not that deep. It's never that serious. And you have to brace that change because it's, as sad as it sounds, that's the structure of what we live in right now. And people that join this space today, for instance, look at you. You're already breaking that chain, mashallah. And, you know, I always thank CCMW when they rope me into things like this, even though I barely answer my emails, because even today, like, I was around only white people all day. I was the only Black person, the only Muslim. I didn't say assalamu alaikum once until I joined this call, right? And I think that already, I'm only feeling it now, and I'll probably feel it after this call, where I'm like, I feel at ease, you know? I saw some Black Muslims, mashallah. You know, I said a lot of religious words, mashallah. I claimed my identity. And when you don't do that often, the damage is you don't see it in 1 week. Like, it comes off in months, years. And that's why I always tell people, like, reach out. If I don't answer, I swear, it's not that I'm not answering you, it's that I'm busy, but I will get to you. But reach out, you know, because we all need each other. And to touch on what Ayan and Warda were saying, just because we're all in different fields doesn't mean I can't go and ask Ayan, you know, girl, I need some henna, like, set me up, and go to Warda and be like, yo, what's the community discussion this week? Because, you know, when I say I'm moving to Toronto, I'm not kidding when I say, like, Edmonton had a community for me, Ottawa had a community for me, and I'm very excited to see what Toronto has to offer, because I'm getting good vibes.
We're a vibe. Love it. Okay, Nizat, did you still have a question?
I do. I that was so great. You know, your conversations were very enlightening. They were honest. I loved everything you were all saying. And of course, I feel very inspired by all of you. So I'm taking away, we need a henna show, you know, only on henna, and all of you can participate, but, you know, tips, designs, everything, the posture and how you can relieve each other so that, you know, person doesn't get tired. I learned so much from you. So that would be really, so we have to have a henna show for CCMW, and then we have to have a stand-up comedy show. So get ready, Warda, we're going to invite you to do stand-up comedy. You can do it on TikTok, but if you do it on a CCMW event, you're going to get a whole bunch of other fans, and we talk about, you know, sharing and recommending. And so exactly where the money at. So this,
You guys think I'm funny? Stop.
yeah, I think you're funny. And so we're going to have to, so now I've got ideas for at least 2 shows. And then for Hanan, you know what, Hanan, what you were telling me about how you decided, what you told us all, but how you decided to go into criminal defense was, was really enlightening, because a lot of people who think about going into law, especially if they come from communities like ours, it's all about social justice, it's all about human rights. And we don't often think about criminal defense because, we know awful things happen, and we don't trust the criminal justice system. But to do what you are planning to do is truly commendable. So I have another show, another program idea. Once you're doing it, whether you're articling or whether you're actually practicing, or you're being mentored by someone, we want to learn about that experience of doing criminal defense, especially when your clients may be, from our communities who have to struggle all the time. So I'm really interested in learning about that. So I've got 3 program ideas already, ladies. I'm always thinking about how CCMW could do that outreach and bring the work of these amazing women, to our community. So I think so we've got some programming ideas, but I really want to thank you for being here, because we would not be able to, develop our thinking and open our minds to where you've been. And thank you so much for sharing it all. It was wonderful. Anyway, we haven't finished yet, but I'll stop now because I know there are other questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Nazat. And no, that's why these spaces are so important, because they really do inspire and connect us, and also give us a sense of the loneliness we feel. Like you said, Hanan, you went the whole day without even saying salam alaikum to someone, or right, and that's so necessary. That's actually the violence of white supremacy, right? Like it forces us to deny ourselves, and so these spaces are so important. Okay, so I think we still have a few more questions. I see Celine Leduc's hand. Celine, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yeah, it's for, I don't know your name, but the one that does henna. The one thing, I love henna, okay? And the most important thing for me, not only to be, how could I say, not only for the hands, but henna is really good also for the hair. If people are losing their hair or whatever, it really is good. You mix it in with an egg, oil, lemon, and henna. But be careful with the henna, because if you put in, if you cannot use it when you dye your hair. But what I remember the most important is this feeling of oneness between people, on how we shared, sitting around, sharing, talking about guys, talking about our friends and whatever else, and having fun. And that is a community that I really actually love, especially people that come from the African continent or from the what we call the Middle East. Really great people. I've been with you guys since I'm 15 and I'm 74.
Okay.
And I never left the community.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Celine.
The question is,
oh, yeah. Did you have a question still, or?
Yeah, I just had one question about the henna. Do you give classes on henna, on how to use it for the hair? Because it has helped many people that I know that have cancer or losing their hair. You have also that, just not only the art form, but also the other part?
First, I just realized right now that it says A there. It doesn't see my actual name there. But I would say that I personally don't specialize in hair henna, because my hair texture is like coily. So I have an afro under this. So for henna, I feel like when you're dyeing henna, your hair has to be at least blow dried for that. So that's extra work for me personally. So if you have like a more fair hair texture, I feel like it's easier to do the dye, and the color catches on only on virgin hair, not on dyed hair. So I notice a lot of the times you try it on dyed hair. So you're right, that's the only hair that would. But I don't think I'm qualified enough to do like hair henna. But hopefully somebody does come up with it and does do it for us. My hair texture doesn't qualify for that, but maybe somebody else can do it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Celine. Rahma Diri, did you have a question? If you want to unmute yourself and ask.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I had a question about learning henna. And after like hearing you all speak about like community and what Hanan had to say about like bracing like the change of like the structure of like these individual like lifestyles. I'm trying to like push myself out there in general these days and meet new people. So I think I'm leaning towards let me ask my question first. Sorry. My question is, for someone who wants to start to learn henna, do you recommend getting a teacher or learning, being self-taught? I know Ayan said you were, I think you said you were self-taught, if I'm correct. So I was just wondering, like, which way do you recommend someone who has like no experience in the field? Like, how do you recommend they go about learning? Being self-taught or getting a teacher? Yeah.
First, I recognize Rahma's voice. Hey.
Assalamu alaikum, girl.
Second, I would say like trying out first on yourself even before the teacher part is really nice. So it's like if you can purchase cones that are already wrapped up, because I feel like the wrapping the cone part, maybe the teacher would be very beneficial, but just like practicing on yourself first to just see like how your muscle memory is on your hand. So I used to practice on my thighs because nobody would see them. And then also practicing on my mom's feet because she didn't care. And then going from there, my sisters are actually not very friendly and they used to go to the neighbors to get their henna done, even though I was right there. And then eventually when I got better, then they started coming to me. So I feel like it's like a humbling process. It's not like a straight off the bat become an expert process. So I would say practice on yourself and then explore the henna classes. I'm not sure what Toronto offers, which is the reason why I was like, let me actually teach a little bit because people don't have access to it. And I would say once the handle of the holding the cone a little bit, then it's worth going to the teaching option.
I hear you. I hear you. Definitely. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Good.
And Shaheen, do you have a question if you want to unmute yourself?
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Can I say how refreshing this has been as an evening? I was thinking about what this space might be like if there was a dominant panel of men or male presence in the space. So I wanted to comment about the fact that it's so beautiful that there's been no sense of hierarchy. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, frankly, if it was a different conversation and it had a different connotation to it, would be Hanan would be getting all the attention because she's the lawyer. I just wanted to be straight about it and say, I'm a little older than you youngins at the panel right now, but that difference of one generation is so impressive to me. And I wanted to kind of spotlight that because you may not understand in your struggle how much has actually changed. So and while I in no way have any understanding of your personal experiences, I do have the experience of being born a Muslim in Canada, being a visible minority and being a woman, and seeing the progress in conversation about what I'm witnessing today and able to participate in. So I just wanted to offer that it's been so beautiful to have women living in their own power, facing the struggles that you are facing head on, and also with humor, with grace, with the ability to say it like it is, as opposed to kind of apologizing about it or tiptoeing around it, because that was certainly something I did. You know, I worked so hard to be deeply accepted that I grew up in the apologist era and you aren't. And that's so incredible. And to be in a space where Zara is the queen that she is, that I've, been blessed to know her in the manner that I've seen her grow and rise in all these beautiful ways. She shines this light so brightly. And the three of you, like we are talking about artistry, we're talking about art, we're talking about justice, we're talking about so many things in such a balanced and equal way with joy. So it doesn't in any way minimize the importance of all of the things that we are facing as a collective, as women, as visible minorities, as Muslims, as Canadians trying to navigate all of these spaces. But I just wanted to really highlight what a pleasure. And like I've been exhaling and laughing tonight. And that I'm so grateful for all of you for this experience.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
It's
that.
not a question.
I would love to
And-
comment on your comments. I really love how you noticed that. Like for me, I don't notice that, especially when I talk to other Black Muslim women, because we know how it feels to be disrespected by someone in power. And so whenever we are together, this is really the vibe. I'm telling you, like there could be someone who is a full-fledged cardiologist or whatever in this conversation, and she would be chopping it up just with us. And so I love to credit my mom when I think of that, because she truly was, her and her friends were truly the first people that I saw where power wasn't a thing between them. Wealth didn't matter, postal code didn't matter. It was just truly vibes and Bismillah, as one of them said. And so yeah, like I thank you for like bringing that back for us.
Yep. Thank you, Shaheen. That was really beautiful and well said. And I think we have a question from it, unless Marda or Ayan, did you want to add to that, or you're good? Okay, Idil, if you have a question, if you want to unmute yourself. Oh, did I lose her? Oh, there she is. Yeah.
I'm here. Salam. Hi,
Hi,
everyone. I have to say something. The way I'm dancing on my chair, I am just so happy. And I just wanted to share my joy. I'm here in Quebec, where in many spaces where I go, I don't see Black Muslim women. I'm oftentimes, you know, the Black Muslim women here, you know, in Quebec, just navigating. And as I was listening to all of you, I was just, you know, I'm going to speak like an auntie here. I'm like the other person that spoke, you know, before me. I'm a little bit older, and as I am listening to you all fierce people just doing you, I just am so proud. And I'm just very moved by everything you are doing. And I just want you all to know that, you know, lots of people are very proud of you, and people that don't even know you are very proud of you. And so thank you for this space. Thank you for sharing with us. You know, just thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
that was beautiful, Idil. Thank you so much. Okay, I think I got all the hands. If I'm missing anyone, please just feel free to unmute and jump in, but I'm trying to scroll through.
So can I just say something? I was going to do it when I close and thank everyone, but I see some people that I haven't seen here for a while. So one of them is Mona Al-Tahan, and Mona is all the way in Newfoundland, and she used to be a member of CCMW, if you recall, Mona. So it's really nice to see you here. I hope you're still here, because
Yes.
we should connect. And you know that we have a Newfoundland and Labrador chapter now. So we can connect you to those chapter members. They're wonderful women. And so we'll do that connection. So I'm just signaling to our team. So please, let's introduce Mona Al-Tahan to Kara and to Sobia Sheikh in Newfoundland. And another person I saw whom I haven't seen in a long time and so glad to see her here was Fawzia Duwale Virtue. Fawzia, are you still here? She's still here?
I saw her, but I think she's gone now.
Okay, well, it was wonderful that she was here, because I'm a very big fan of Fawzia. I don't know if many of you know her, but she's a true pioneer, you know. She's still very young. She taught me a lot. because she came from well, I don't want to speak for her. I want to give her a platform for herself, inshallah, next time. But it was really great to see her here too. So I just wanted to say a shout out to both Mona and Fawzia, because, you know, when we create this space, you never know who's going to turn up. We keep on running into people that we knew, you know, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And here we are once again. But Fawzia isn't even that old, so I know that it hasn't been that long since we connected, but she used to be on our board, but then she had to leave us because she moved. Anyway, so I'm not gonna keep going, but I just want to say to you that it was nice to connect with some old friends.
Thanks,
And
Miss.
new ones. Thank
I
you.
am the oldest one, I guess.
No, you're not, Mona.
From the time of Laila Fahman visiting us in Newfoundland, to forming the chapter, to having wonderful women around, I think, and I really enjoyed the panel discussions and meeting everybody. It was wonderful. And the first time I've seen all of them are really young, wonderful women, which I'm really proud of them.
Not me, I'm up there. But alhamdulillah, happy to be here.
Yeah.
Okay, Iman, I think we have, I think that's the last of our questions. We just have, oh,
I think there's one in the comments actually. Yeah, somebody asked about code switching. I think it was Wazina.
Let me scroll up. Code switching is sadly something people do when we can't be our authentic selves. Is this something you've experienced? And if so, how do you overcome this inclination? That's a great question. Does anybody want to tackle that? And for those who may not know what code switching is when you're, say, in professional spaces, white spaces, where you feel like you have to put on a certain character to be accepted instead of being your full authentic self. So if anybody wants to take on that question, feel free. Have any of you experienced having to code switch, and how have you navigated that?
Yeah. I can go first. I have definitely experienced code switching. I think it's something, you know, you just kind of get conditioned to do. It's just something I grew up with like a predominantly white space. So it was like, in order to fit in or, you know, have these people hear me or listen to me, it was like some part of me had to be like them for them to like understand what I was saying. Otherwise, it was like I was talking a foreign language, you know? And it's something I tend to do even at work still to this day, where I'm just kind of like, damn, my friends bring it up a lot. They'll be like, what do you sound so different when you talk to us versus when you talk to like other people. And the thing is, like, this idea of like professionalism and like their type of professionalism is something that, I don't know, I feel like when we get into spaces like this, seeing how we all can communicate with each other and say words like vibes and stuff like that, and we all completely get what's going on, we can all say that freely and not be judged and still being taken as seriously as we want to be taken, and like still being understood and not diminished to being like, oh, this person's just like, you know, saying random words or saying things to just to say it. Is kind of cool. And I think that I'm trying to really get into that headspace of like, you know what, I can speak however I would like to speak without diminishing who I am and my version of professionalism, and I can get my point very much like clear across without having to fit into your standards of how I should properly speak, you know? So it's just, it's interesting. It's you know, I still do it, but yeah.
Thanks, Warda. I actually asked that question and I really appreciate your thoughtful answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Warda or Ayan, do you want, or I'm sorry, Hanan or Ayan, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would say that I agree with Warda, especially because sometimes you don't even know that you're doing it because it's taught to us so young. Like I remember like one of my first jobs working at the movie theater, and there was like a script for us to say. And it's like, I grew up in a predominantly like Somali and Jamaican neighborhood. So my language is very much a merger of both, I'd say. But it's like, because of the professionalism that work comes with, it's like it's like hand in hand in the way that we speak. Like the further up you move, the way that you speak has to be a certain level. But I think that articulating your words and enunciating your words and all those things is the same. It's just that we have to clarify more of what we're saying, because it's not common to, like, outside of Toronto first is just a completely different realm, you know, because it's like once I visited like Vancouver, and like it's completely different. And that's why I think it's really cool that other people are tuning in right now. I've never been to Newfoundland. I thought that was really cool. And I've heard never entered those territories. So I feel like it'd be even harder further out, because for us, at least, there's like that familiarity of like everyone kind of being some sort of mixture of any type of ethnicity. Like we're kind of privileged in that, where someone might understand you. So a lot of the time it's like the code switching kind of became like tied with professionalism. Like you move up in a position, you have to speak a certain way. Like you are a project coordinator, you have to sound like a project coordinator, and it doesn't really tie in, but they make it seem as though you have to do the thing. And it comes out in like, even like when you're calling, like sometimes I have to call for like bills for like my parents, and then it's like I have that Bell Canada voice, you know, like the I want to get things done voice. And I don't feel shame in it. It's just that I know when I'm doing it. I'm aware of it.
You do it with more intentionality.
Exactly.
I like it. What about you, Hanan?
It's interesting because I grew up in Malaysia. I was born here, but I grew up in Kuala Lumpur. And over there are like, it's a mosaic of people that are from the Chinese background, Hindu background, Indian background, and then the religions as well. Buddhism, you got Islam, you got Christianity. So code switching was more so into their dialect, which was weird. Like I started saying like la at the end of my sentences, and my parents were like, huh? Where'd you learn that? So I was code switching in a Malay way, but I think because I did debate for a good 5-6 years, and I was told consistently, because people don't assume I'm Canadian. Right away, they're like, Somali, bet. And I'm like, yeah. And I just went with it until they saw a passport. But no one really ever forced me to code switch. And I really love that about my childhood, because I could debate in the way that I wanted to debate. Like I could say vibes, I could add in jokes. And as you can see, I'm a very humorous person. So when I came back to Canada, I was hit with, that's not a professional way to speak or to conduct yourself. You need to remove certain words, or else I won't be able to understand you. And if you ever want to go and become a litigator, how are you going to get, you know, a white judge who never heard the word vibes hear the case of your client and believe in you? So I'm glad I was very stubborn. As you can see, I'm a very stubborn person. I'm so glad, because now I'm in my final year, my final semester. I'm taking an advanced trial advocacy class. And that class you only get in through a recommendation. And the prof that recommended me wrote, you're not going to have a student that will make you laugh during a submission other than Hanan. So when I got accepted into this class and I did my first opening, the professor said to me, and she actually is someone who was a judge at one point. And so she was saying like, Hanan, you'd be great at dinner parties. Like you'd be a great vibe, just in general. And I was like, but what about my submission? Like, do you hear what I'm trying to argue for? Like, I know I'm a vibe, but do you hear what I'm trying to say? And in that moment, she kind of checked herself, where it was like, why am I so surprised at a different way of speaking? Why am I speaking of a dinner party when she's actually arguing for someone's case? And so I think I'm very blessed with the privileges that I've had to be able to not force myself to code switch. But there are moments where I know the power of how you can code switch, like exactly what Ayan was saying. So instead of using it for Bell, I use it for police. I use it for when I'm advocating for someone to get free legal aid. And it scares people. It really does. Like you could actually see them go like, oh no, like how do you know that? And because I've been around too many white people to know how they get things done, specifically white men. When you are around them for a while and you see how they conduct themselves, it's a skill, subhanAllah, but it's like, it's
We need to tap into that entitlement. Give me
what I'm saying, that audacity.
New Yorker white man and we'll be set.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
We're
Honestly,
just as
so
entitled.
exactly. So if anyone is in their undergrad and they're worried about code switching, try it one day. Just speak the way you want to speak in the way you want to say it. And if they don't understand, confidently do it, because confidence is what runs this world. Audacity is what runs it. So just do it. And if it doesn't work out, let me know and I will do my best to help you with whatever assignment I set you up on.
Love it.
Thanks, Hanan. That was a really interesting answer. And I think that you kind of spoke to how we can also use code switching in like a strategic way and in a way that can even be empowering. So very interesting answer. Thank you.
Yeah, that was great. Okay, I think we got one last question in the chat. How about the psychological impacts of henna? Culturally, it is practiced as part of celebrations and events. And that's from Miss Zelda. Did I get the question right? Yeah. I'm not sure I understand. Maybe if you want to unmute and elaborate a little bit.
Yes, if I need to be elaborating that. So because we use that, it's different than tattoo, right? So in our culture, culturally in our cultures, like when we have, gatherings, the happy celebrations or holy celebrations. So like we get together, it's just kind of in a halal circle. So it's kind of fun, entertainment or something special we don't do daily. We don't sit down and do the henna, we just get together for that, or, it's kind of a party and it has a, special vibe which actually you are personally, all of you have been carrying this, great vibe, great impact, great inspiration. And you're reflecting that on your work as well, my understanding. So I just wanted to highlight that I'm a psychotherapist. So kind of, looking from this window and this perspective. So I think it's a great service, like when you see someone's hand, a henna, it tells us something, right? So then it's an icebreaker. Oh, it's beautiful. And just there are sometimes there's a meaning for that. Sometimes, what it means for you or what it looks out from outside, right? So I don't know, as henna artists, so have you, thought about this impact that you're creating in the community? And it's a long-lasting impact, at least two weeks, we know, and it is, we are carrying that, and we know it is temporary, but create quite I think permanent a good experience. So I don't know if you would like to say something about that. So if we have some time. So thank you.
I would say, like, I noticed like the term that was being in the chat, like art therapy. I personally like have like visualized art in that way. Like it was just like a thing that I liked doing. It was like, this is something that I enjoy doing. There wasn't a timeline for it. There wasn't like a thought process behind it. It's like in class, I'm doodling on the corner of my notebook, like in class, I'm doing something, or if a celebration or a holiday comes up, it's associated with it, like whether it's a wedding or it's a family gathering or it's a party and everyone's getting their henna done before an event and like things like that. So I feel like now, like in this day and age where a lot of the things are like associated with mental health, and it's associated with like self-care methods and things like that, I could see how henna would be categorized in that. So henna could be a form or an outlet for somebody, especially because of the fact that it's like you can adorn yourself. It's a way of beautifying yourself. It's like trending now to like getting your nails done type of thing. So I could see where it could be wrapped into like the therapy aspect of expressing yourself, and then tied into also like the self-care aspect of do it yourself, however way it is. But I see it as like my parents, like my mom has a clique of friends that she goes to every Friday, and they eat and they do their henna, and they don't do it in a specific way, because I feel like taking the rules out of it helps a little bit, because they just dip their fingers, like the tips, the lines are straight, I don't know how, and they do the dot in the middle of their hand, and they're just carrying on conversation and creating the community and talking about us as their children together collectively, and it gets passed around the community somehow. So I feel like if it's in a form of like an outlet, I can see where it could be some sort of art therapy for people. But personally, for me, I would say I just noticed that once I started it, that it brings communication. I feel like before that, I didn't wrap the two together. It was like the conversations when you're sitting in front of someone and they're sitting in front of you and you kind of talk because you're really intimate, like it's really close. Like, especially if you do like a henna belly or something, like you're really close to that person. Like the conversation kind of starts and it's like, that's where the intimate conversation comes in. It's between women a lot of the time, but now it's like branching outside of that because other communities are taking it in. So it could be for men as well. It's just that everyone has their own experience with this. So I can see how it could wrap up now, but in the past, I wouldn't understand it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Okay, Iman, I think we have like 15 minutes left, and I think we got all the questions, alhamdulillah. So if we want to get into our next part of the agenda.
Yes, thank you so much. I just want to say that was so great. I like, everybody was saying, I was just sitting here laughing to myself, laughing with your comments, and it was really, really great. Just to like feel like it was part of this community discussion. It just felt like we, a group of friends just chatting, and it was really, really great. So thank you guys so much for being here with us tonight. And I want to really thank Zahra as well, because Zahra is host extraordinaire. She's always down to help us out, especially with the Black Muslimahs Shining. Every year she's here for us. So thank you so much, Zahra. You have an amazing talent with doing these things. So I really wanted to give you your flowers as well. But yeah, so what we're going to do next, we're just going to have a couple of minutes to shout out some small businesses. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to hand it over to Amema, and then she'll take over.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I also wanted to thank you all for cultivating such a rich dialogue and such a warm space for sisterhood. We all really appreciate it. So we want to take a moment to just acknowledge the incredible Black Muslim women who are leading ventures that are often serving like really critical gaps in our communities, from beauty to like coffee to event planning. So we're going to just read out these businesses, and we have their social media handles and their websites. So please take a moment to follow them and to support them. So we have Bloomseed, which is a wonderful hair care and skincare company. And we also have Defar Moments, which is a really great event decor business, really beautiful arrangements that they have. We also have Zuhur Floral and Plant Boutique. We have Hilak Fashion, which is sort of a one-stop shop for beauty and clothing, and also bridal wear. We have Hanan's Corner. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Hanan's work. She's a digital artist, and she also has an Etsy shop where she sells a lot of her prints and things like that. Royalty Coffee is also a really great coffee shop in Scarborough, actually. They have like some of the best iced coffee I've ever tried. And it's run by, I think who started it is actually a really young East African Muslim woman. So I recommend that you guys definitely check out Royalty Coffee. So all their handles and their websites are here on the slide. Please follow them, and please support Black Muslim women-owned businesses. So I guess we'll leave these up for a bit. And then Iman, if you want to take it away, Zahra.
Yeah, I also want to say if you guys have any small businesses that you want to shout out, definitely put them in the chat. We can definitely there's always someone new that we can support, and we need to do our part in supporting them. So yes, I will leave this up here, and I'm going to send it over to Nizat for some closing remarks before we end off the night.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So I want to thank, of course, our amazing panelists, our moderators, Zahra, Warda, Ayan, and Hanan. You were terrific, so refreshing, and I love the fact that you didn't have to code switch. You were yourselves, and we really enjoyed every word of what you were saying, and I was actually hanging on to it every word that you were saying, because I was, you know, I was just saying I have so much more to learn from you folks, from all of you young women, because, you know, I always tell people I'm getting very old, my hair is graying. So I am so happy that you guys are going to be, you know, you're right behind us. And we're going to be leaving this world, this country, our communities in really, really good hands. You know, when I'm not around in these spaces. So thank you. And I have to thank our own CCMW team. So first of all, I have to thank Iman Ahmed Noor, who started the program this evening. She's the one who organized this whole event. We had planned on having a hybrid event to have, you know, some of, well, we were hoping that we would have this in person and online, but we ended up switching it to virtual spaces. So we're okay with that. But inshallah, someone did ask in the chat if we would have something like this in person. Now, if we'd had it in person, Hanan would have still joined us virtually, but that would have been okay. But we really want to do this in person. And we had planned to have these businesses there in person, you know, showing their wares, telling you about them. But inshallah, next time we can do that. So you'll have to translate, Hanan, or read me. Okay, translation required. But I want to thank, oh, there's other people I have to thank on our team, but you can read. Okay, I can read you, okay?
Nazat, it means that you were coming for me. Like you were saying, Hannah, like you already know my schedule, Nazat, before I even have to say anything. Like
I know.
We know, we're right here.
Bet. So okay.
She said bet.
Besides Iman, the other person I have to thank, of course, was Umaima, because she helped us reach out to a lot of folks as well. And, you know, she connected us with some of these businesses and with some of you. So grateful to Umaima as well. And then behind the scenes, we have Zainab. I don't know where she is, but she's the one who arranged all our registration and took care of our, you know, Zoom link and everything like that. So it's a work of, well, it's teamwork. Everyone on the team pitched in, but we couldn't have done it with the mastermind behind us, and that was Iman Ahmed Noor. And then everyone, the rest of the CCMW crowd, you know, was there to cheer you all on. So Alhamdulillah, thank you very much. And please don't, okay, first of all, I always have to do this pitch. Become a member of CCMW. So if you live in Toronto, we have a very wonderful Toronto chapter. They do wonderful things. Some of the programs will intrigue you. So there's one coming up that's really going to intrigue you. And so, you know, follow us on all the socials. You're going to hear about, you know, we're doing an International Women's Day panel. It's a really interesting topic. It's called At the Intersections, Confronting Misogyny, Racism, and Islamophobia in 2023. It's the evening of March 8th. So you'll see a poster out for that tomorrow morning, hopefully. So keep, you know, connected to CCMW, join us. And Iman, did I forget anyone? Hannah, for doing the beautiful posters. She's our graphic artist. So I hope I haven't forgotten anyone. I want to also salute our president, Nina Karachi Khalid, who never misses any of our events. So she's here. And a number of our board members, Najat is here. So if I've forgotten anyone, it's not intentional, but so glad to see so many folks here today. So thank you all. We couldn't have done any of this without you. And yes, I read you, Hanan. Okay, everyone.
Right. Before we leave, I just wanted to say thank you to you, Nuzhat, for giving us, you know, the opportunity and the space to create events like this, and your wonderful leadership. We couldn't do it without you. So thank you so much. And I just wanted to end off with plugging CCMW. So make sure you guys are following us on social media. We have our handles up on the screen. You know, this event came from the Black Muslimahs Shining campaign. And throughout this entire month, we were spotlighting some really amazing Black Muslimahs. One of them you heard from today, Idil, who spoke today, was one of our spotlights. So definitely check them out. It's on our website, on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. We're all over the place. So definitely make sure to check us out. And Ayan had a great suggestion. If you guys are able to, if you guys are willing, we wanted to take a group shot. So I'll just take a screenshot of the Zoom screen. So if you guys are willing, if you guys want to, you know, open up your cameras and smile, I'll count down, and then we'll take a screenshot. All right. So I'll wait till everybody's ready.
Oh, I want to say hello to Samina. How are you, Samina? It's been so long since we've seen each other.
You will.
There you go.
You read me, Nazat. You read me. I just learned that.
All right. And it's okay if you don't want to open up your camera, just anyone who wants to, that's fine. Okay. So we have 2 pages. So I'm going to do 2 pictures. Okay. So this is the first one. 3, 2, 1. Okay, great. And then next page, ready? 3, 2, 1. All right. Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a great evening. Thank you guys for joining us. And inshallah, we'll see you guys on the next one. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalam.